The game will be at 6 o'clock on ESPN Saturday night. It'll be the dessert for Georgia and Tennessee. Should be a very good game. Alabama's favored by 13.5 points. The over-under is at 56. I'm personally expecting basically Bryce Young to have a day. What do you think, Hammer?
I am too. This one, look, I think this is going to be a very competitive game. Uh, Bama has struggled, as we all know, on the road this season, especially with penalties. So we'll see if they can get that cleaned up. But it's Bryce Young, right? He's the reigning Heisman winner. He's the best player on the field in pretty much every game he plays. And I do think LSU defensively will be able to get pressure on him. The Bama offensive line has been decent this year, but certainly not up to the standard or past offensive lines we've seen. So I think with guys like Ojulari and even the freshman Harold Perkins running around at that linebacker spot, I think they'll be able to get pressure on him. But honestly, Bryce Young handles pressure as good as anybody in the country. He still doesn't make mistakes, even if he's taking sacks. And oftentimes he'll make that rusher miss and then hit you downfield because you're committing too much to the pass rush, and he's got matchups downfield that he likes. And then outside of Young on Bama's offense, I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs who's the X factor. Probably not even an X factor because he shows up every game, but he's electric. And they get him the ball very effectively through the pass game. I don't think LSU will be able to match up great with him catching the ball out of the backfield. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs to have a big game here. But it's still Saturday night in Baton Rouge. So anything could happen. And LSU is playing excellent football right now. So this should be a really, really good game.
Boss man, what would LSU have to do to pull off the upset down in Tiger Stadium?
Watch some film at Tennessee and actually hit some of these pass plays. So we've seen in recent weeks that it looks like they've started to get their passing game going. And we've seen a little bit of life from Jaden Daniels and that offense from Keishon Butte and a few others. Who are starting to catch the ball. And Jaden Daniels starting to spin it. I frankly think that they're going to get exposed in this game against Alabama as having played above, what they're really actually capable of. I think that they've been sort of overachieving, I would say, in the passing game over the last few weeks. I think they are going to be able to get some pass plays here against Alabama, right? We obviously saw that against Tennessee. Alabama's pass defense is susceptible. However, this Alabama defense is not bad by any means. I believe they're number 16 in the country in total defense, and that's because Tennessee, tore them up. If they weren't, didn't have that Tennessee, statistical line on their rap sheet, they'd probably be in the top 10 in total defense. So I'm looking at Alabama to cover in this one. Frankly, I think that they're going to be able to get pressure on Jaden Daniels. I think he struggles under pressure. I think that Bryce Young on the other side, like Hank said, hey, send Harold Perkins, send whoever you want to. He's gonna figure out who the receiver is downfield, keep his eyes downfield, and get the rock to somebody for a first down. That's just how he operates. That's why he's the Heisman winner and probably the best player in the country. So I think this is going to be a fascinating game. I'm really excited to see it. I always love watching Alabama LSU, especially when it's in Death Valley. So it should be a good one.
All right, Hammer, final thoughts and a prediction.
Yeah, I think LSU will cover. I do like Alabama to win. As I mentioned earlier, I think Bama has just struggled on the road, so it's hard for me to see them winning this game, by 14 or 17 points. I think it's closer than that. Probably a touchdown to maybe 10 points. Bama will win by. I already kind of talked about offensively what I think Bama, is going to be able to do. What I really am looking for defensively from Bama is, as Alex mentioned, get pressure on Jaden Daniels. I think they'll be able to do that with Will Anderson, Chris Braswell, and that front seven. But really the key to me is you got to limit Daniels on the ground. Jaden Daniels has looked much, much better passing the ball, and I think he will be able to hit some downfield passes against Bama, but he's still LSU's leading rusher by, I think it's like 200 yards. So he's really their only threat on the ground. And this Bama defense, if you cannot threaten them with the run game and keep their secondary, sorry about that, and you cannot keep their secondary honest, that's when they pin their ears back and start teeing off on your quarterback. So I think if Alabama can limit Jaden Daniels, which I think they will, at least to a point where they're able to win this game, then they'll be in a good spot. And look, this is one of those things where Bama's already lost. So betting on them to lose twice is not a good plan, honestly. So
at least until next week, right?
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, I like Alabama to win this one.
All right, boss man, what do you got?
I like Alabama a little bit bigger in this one. Like I said before, I think LSU's passing offense has been overachieving a little bit. Jaden Daniels does look much better throwing the ball. Let's see you do it against Alabama. Hank said, Alabama has struggled on the road, but they've got that one loss now. I think Nick Saban's going to have them extremely ready to go, extremely disciplined walking into Death Valley. I think that this one's going to be probably something like 41-27. I would say, Brian Kelly's going to take another butt whooping from Alabama, and maybe that's going to become a yearly occurrence for those LSU fans, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Brian Kelly's a good coach, and I wouldn't call that a butt whooping. I would say that LSU is going to be in this game probably till late in the third quarter, and then I think Alabama pulls away as we get into the fourth quarter, and 41-27 is what I'll go with.
Something else to keep in mind: this season can get sideways after that win against Ole Miss, because if they lose to Alabama, then next week they have to go to Fayetteville, which is an incredibly losable game for LSU. So everything could look completely different by 6 o'clock next weekend as well. This game is at 6 o'clock Central on ESPN. Bama is a 13.5-point favorite. The over-under is at 56.5 points. Number 6, Alabama. Number 10, LSU. It would be the game of the week in the SEC, but